The older deputy lowered his flashlight slowly and stepped closer to the hood of my truck. Rain tapped against the plastic folder between us. Vanessa stopped talking for the first time all night. You could still hear the soft whine of the golf cart motors idling behind her. The younger deputy glanced between us like he knew he had walked into something bigger than a gate dispute. Cole Mercer, the older deputy said quietly. You worked the North Valley Fraud Task Force. I nodded once. His jaw tightened. Vanessa tried to recover fast. Officer, this man has been threatening residents for weeks. He blocked emergency access and installed unauthorized security systems. The deputy never looked at her. He kept staring at the paperwork. That changed the air immediately. I could smell wet cedar from the fence line and hot engine oil from the patrol SUV. Nobody touched the gate anymore. Nobody even looked at the chain cutters near Vanessa's boots. The younger deputy finally spoke. Sir, what exactly is going on here? I opened the folder carefully. Inside were photos, maps, permit copies, and access logs from the gate system. Not messy stacks either. Everything dated. Everything labeled. Vanessa folded her arms tight against the cold rain. Her smile was gone now. This road services 12 properties, I said. 3 are active ranches. 1 belongs to the county utility district. The fire department uses this route during brush season. The younger deputy looked back toward the dark road behind me. He had probably driven past the county fire marker without noticing the empty bolts where the sign used to be. Vanessa noticed him noticing. That made her nervous. Those signs were outdated, she snapped quickly. The HOA voted to modernize the entrance. The older deputy finally looked at her. You removed county markers. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Tiny mistake. But important. Rainwater dripped off the brim of her visor onto her white jacket. Earlier that month, one of the utility supervisors stopped by my ranch around sunrise. He stood near the cattle guard drinking burnt gas station coffee while staring at fresh survey paint sprayed across the ditch bank. Orange lines. New measurements. Wrong measurements. Somebody had started redrawing property boundaries near the access road. Quietly. That was the first moment I realized Vanessa was not chasing HOA fees anymore. She wanted control of the road itself. And control of the road meant leverage over every property behind it. The problem for her was simple. I used to investigate land fraud for a living. Patterns start speaking after enough years. Small changes. Missing easements. Altered plats. Temporary signs that become permanent 6 months later. Most people never notice until a fence moves or a bulldozer arrives. Vanessa was counting on that. She thought ranch owners were old, isolated, and easy to pressure one at a time. She almost succeeded with the Talbot family 2 miles west of me. Retired couple. Fixed income. They received HOA assessments despite never joining the subdivision. Then came liens. Then threats about road access. Same playbook every time. The older deputy flipped through another page in my folder. His flashlight paused on a photograph showing HOA contractors removing county reflector posts 3 nights earlier. Timestamp included. Vehicle numbers visible. Vanessa shifted her weight immediately. That picture proves nothing, she said. But her voice cracked halfway through the sentence. The younger deputy noticed that too. A cold gust rolled down the road and rattled the steel gate behind us. Somewhere beyond the trees, thunder rolled low across the hills. The deputy closed the folder slowly. Then he asked Vanessa one question she clearly did not expect. Ma'am, who authorized the road transfer paperwork? Vanessa blinked hard when the deputy asked about the paperwork. For a second, only the rain answered him. Water dripped off the HOA notice taped crooked across my keypad. One corner had already peeled loose in the storm. The board approved it, she said finally. Everything was reviewed internally. The older deputy kept his flashlight on her face. That is not what I asked. Her jaw tightened. She glanced toward the two board members standing beside the golf carts. Neither one stepped forward. Smart move. They suddenly looked very interested. In the mud under their shoes. I had seen that look before. People act confident right until somebody starts asking for names and signatures. The younger deputy shifted closer to the hood of my truck. He flipped through another page from the folder and stopped at a county map stamped 18 months earlier. Clean boundary lines. Official easements. My access road clearly marked in red. Vanessa folded her arms tighter. This is harassment, she snapped. He has been spying on residents for weeks. I almost laughed at that one. The security cameras she complained about were pointed at my own gate. Nothing more. But cameras make dishonest people nervous. Especially when timestamps exist. The rain eased slightly. Steam rose from the patrol SUV hood under the flashing lights. Somewhere behind the trees, a generator hummed from one of the ranch houses farther down the road. Families were still awake back there. Watching headlights through windows. Waiting to see whether their only exit road was about to disappear behind an HOA lock. That was the real problem. This stopped being about neighborhood rules a long time ago. Vanessa wanted control over access. Access meant leverage. And leverage meant money. 3 weeks earlier, I drove into town for fence supplies and saw a strange sign planted outside the subdivision entrance. Future development expansion. Luxury villas coming soon. The logo belonged to HOA Ridge Development Group. Her husband's company. Same colors. Same branding. That sign vanished 2 days later after somebody complained online. But I took pictures before it disappeared. Small details matter. The older deputy must have been thinking the same thing because he suddenly asked, "Who owns HOA Ridge Development?" Vanessa answered too fast. "That has nothing to do with this road." Wrong answer again. The younger deputy looked at her differently after that. His posture changed. Less relaxed. More careful. I knew the feeling. He was starting to realize this was not a noise complaint or some angry neighbor argument. This smelled like something administrative. Something political. Those cases scare local officers because paperwork leaves trails. And trails lead upward. A gust of cold wind rattled the steel gate behind us again. The keypad beeped once. Forced entry alert. Vanessa turned toward it immediately. Bad instinct. She forgot everybody was watching her. "You have the override code?" the younger deputy asked. Silence. Tiny silence. But enough. Her eyes shifted toward the dark keypad for half a second too long. The older deputy slowly closed the folder and handed it back to me. "Sir," he said carefully, "did you authorize anyone from the HOA to access this gate system?" "No," I answered. "Did you issue temporary codes?" "Never." Vanessa stepped forward suddenly, rainwater dripping from her sleeves. "This road affects the entire community," she said. We had to act. The older deputy looked at the bolt cutters near her boots again. "With those?" he asked quietly. That hit harder than she expected. Her face lost color under the flashing lights. One of the board members finally backed away toward the golf cart. He kept his head down the whole time. Smart again. People run early when they know paperwork is coming. Then another set of headlights appeared at the far end of the road. The new headlights rolled slowly through the rain and stopped beside the patrol SUVs. A county utility truck. White paint. Mud splashed halfway up the doors. The driver stepped out wearing a reflective jacket and carrying a metal clipboard against his chest to keep it dry. Vanessa cursed under her breath when she recognized him. That told me enough immediately. Evening, Cole, the man said. Deputies. His name was Ray Dempsey. 22 years with the county utility district. Quiet guy. Smelled permanently like diesel fuel and black coffee. Ray looked at the cut chain beside the gate, then at the missing county marker bolts near the ditch. His expression flattened fast. Who removed the emergency route signage? He asked. Nobody answered him. The younger deputy shifted uncomfortably beside the hood of my truck. Vanessa finally pointed toward me again. This entire setup is unsafe, she snapped. We voted to redesign the entrance before construction begins. Ray looked up sharply. Construction? Wrong sentence again. You could almost hear the deputies mentally writing notes. Rainwater dripped off the utility truck mirrors while thunder rolled farther west across the hills. The smell of wet dirt filled the air. One of the golf carts quietly backed away another few feet. Smartest thing anybody from the HOA had done all night. Ray walked straight to the keypad and ran his flashlight over the exposed wiring near the control box. Clean scrape marks. Fresh damage. Someone tried to bypass the override relay, he muttered. The older deputy glanced at Vanessa immediately. What does that mean? Ray stood up slowly. Means if they burn this panel out, emergency crews lose gate access completely. Silence again. Heavy silence this time. The county required that road remain open during wildfire season because the ridge behind my ranch turned into dry tinder every August. One blocked route could trap families, livestock trailers, utility crews, everybody. Vanessa had treated it like some private country club entrance project. She never understood the road was part of a larger system. That was always her weakness. People obsessed with power usually stop seeing infrastructure. They see control first. Everything else becomes decoration. Ray pulled a folded map from his clipboard tube and spread it carefully across my truck hood beside the folder. Rain dotted the paper instantly. Red lines cut across the property grid like veins. This route services backup water access for 3 counties, he said. The younger deputy blinked. Wait. This road? Ray nodded once. Water crews use this corridor during drought emergencies. Vanessa's face tightened immediately. She had not known that. I could tell. Tiny shift in the eyes. Tiny pause in breathing. Some secrets only exist deep inside county planning offices and utility maps. That access road mattered far beyond one subdivision. Which explained why certain people suddenly wanted ownership transferred quietly through amended easements and HOA expansions. The older deputy stepped away from Vanessa now. Subtle move. But important. Earlier in the night, he stood beside her. Now he stood beside the truck with Ray and me. Position tells you everything during investigations. One of the board members finally climbed into a golf cart and drove off without a word. Tires hissed softly over wet gravel before disappearing into the darkness. Vanessa watched him leave with panic flashing across her face for half a second. People abandon sinking ships quietly in wealthy neighborhoods. No yelling. No drama. Just engines starting and taillights disappearing. Ray tapped one location on the map with his flashlight. There, he said. That parcel transfer request came through last month. The younger deputy leaned closer. Requested by who? Ray looked directly at Vanessa before answering. Holloway Ridge Development Group. Then somebody inside the patrol SUV radioed for a supervisor. The patrol SUV radio crackled twice before the dispatcher's voice finally cut through the rain. Supervisor en route. 10 minutes out. Vanessa immediately stepped away from the truck hood and pulled out her phone. She turned her back toward us like that would somehow make her invisible. The glow from her screen lit up raindrops sliding down her jacket sleeve. I had seen that move before too. People start making calls when local authority stops cooperating. Ray folded the county map carefully and slid it back into the tube. His eyes stayed on the damaged keypad wiring. This could have locked emergency vehicles out completely, he said quietly. The younger deputy looked genuinely bothered now. Earlier he treated the scene like another HOA complaint. Now he kept scanning the road, the gate system, the utility markings. Context changes everything. Vanessa lowered her phone and walked back toward us with forced confidence. My husband is on the city planning committee, she announced. This expansion has already been discussed at multiple levels. The older deputy stared at her for a second too long. Discussed and approved are not the same thing. That landed hard. You could see it in the way she pressed her lips together afterward. Rainwater pooled across the gravel near the cattle guard. Red and blue reflections shimmered in the puddles like broken glass. Somewhere deeper in the ranchland, a dog barked once and then stopped suddenly. The whole road felt tense now. Waiting. The younger deputy glanced back at me. Mr. Mercer, when did you first notice the easement changes? About 6 weeks ago, I answered. The survey stakes started moving first. Vanessa laughed sharply. Fake laugh. Thin laugh. That is ridiculous. I reached into the truck again and pulled out a small plastic evidence bag. Inside sat one orange survey cap streaked with wet dirt. The deputy took it carefully. County markings stamped clearly across the side. Found that buried near the drainage ditch Tuesday morning, I said. Vanessa stopped smiling again. Earlier that week, one of the ranch owners behind my property called around midnight. Elderly man named Frank Talbot. His voice shook the whole conversation. He had received another certified letter demanding road maintenance fees from the HOA. $12,000 this time. The letter warned that restricted access actions could begin for noncompliance. Frank lived on a fixed retirement income. His wife needed oxygen support delivered twice a month by county medical services. Restricting that road was not an inconvenience for people like him. It was dangerous. That was the moment I stopped treating Vanessa like an annoying HOA president. Predators always test pressure points first. Elderly owners. Isolated properties. Quiet legal threats. They push until somebody folds. The older deputy handed the survey cap back to me slowly. Did anybody file official complaints about this? He asked. Ray answered before I could. County received 3 disputes already. Vanessa's eyes snapped toward him. Those claims were under review. No, Ray corrected calmly. They were frozen pending fraud assessment. The younger deputy looked up immediately at the word fraud. That changed his posture again. Less neighborhood dispute. More investigation. Vanessa noticed it too. Her breathing became faster. Small thing. But visible under the patrol lights. Then another problem hit her. A second county truck turned onto the road behind the patrol SUVs. This one carried utility inspection markings along the doors. 2 men stepped out carrying clipboards and weatherproof cases. Vanessa whispered something under her breath when she saw them. She understood now. The road was no longer hers to manage quietly through HOA meetings and neighborhood pressure. Too many departments were suddenly paying attention. One of the inspectors walked directly toward the damaged gate controls. He ran a flashlight over the exposed relay box and frowned immediately. Who cut into this panel? He asked. Nobody answered him right away. Then the older deputy slowly turned toward Vanessa again. Vanessa looked trapped the moment the inspector asked about the relay panel. Rain slid down her hair and soaked through the shoulders of her white jacket, but she barely noticed anymore. The older deputy waited calmly for her answer. She glanced toward the remaining HOA board member beside the golf cart. He looked away immediately. "We hired a contractor," she said carefully. "The system needed updating." The utility inspector crouched beside the exposed control box again. His flashlight beam bounced across cut wires and damaged terminals. "This is not an update," he muttered. "This is unauthorized tampering." The younger deputy wrote something down fast after hearing that. His pen scratched loudly against wet paper inside the silence. One of the inspectors opened a weatherproof case and pulled out a handheld meter. The device beeped softly as he tested the panel connections. Then his expression changed. "Backup fire access relay is disabled," he said. Ray swore quietly under his breath. That hit everybody differently. Even the younger deputy looked unsettled now. Emergency crews depended on that override system during wildfire season. Vanessa had not just targeted private property anymore. She had interfered with county emergency infrastructure. The flashing patrol lights reflected across her face while she tried to think of another explanation. You could almost see her searching for somebody else to blame. Earlier that month, I visited the county records office before sunrise. Old building. Smelled like dust, burnt coffee, and wet cardboard. Most people never go there unless they are desperate or hiding something. I sat in the back room for 4 straight hours reviewing easement filings tied to Holloway Ridge Development Group. That was where the pattern became impossible to ignore. Temporary road adjustments. Emergency access amendments. Utility coordination requests. Every document pushed control farther toward the HOA while avoiding direct ownership language. Careful wording. Expensive lawyers. Slow expansion. The same strategy appeared in 3 neighboring counties over the last 5 years. Same developers. Same shell companies. Same pressure tactics against isolated landowners. Vanessa was not inventing this operation. She was managing the local version of it. The older deputy turned toward me again. "You already suspected all this before tonight?" I nodded once. "That is why I installed the upgraded gate system." Vanessa laughed suddenly. Too loud. Too sharp. "This is insane," she snapped. "You built a fortress because you hate the neighborhood." "No," I answered calmly. "I built it because somebody kept trying to rewrite property lines." That silence afterward stretched longer than any argument could have. The younger deputy slowly looked back toward the dark hills beyond the gate. Rain drifted sideways through the headlights now. Thin silver lines cutting across the night air. Somewhere in the distance, another engine approached. Different sound this time. Heavier vehicle. County supervisor probably. Vanessa heard it too. Panic flashed briefly across her face before she buried it again. The utility inspector stood up holding a loose section of wire between gloved fingers. "This relay was bypassed manually," he said. "Not by accident." The older deputy finally asked the question everybody had been circling around all night. Who had access to this panel? Nobody answered immediately. Then the inspector pointed his flashlight toward the keypad housing. "There are fingerprints all over the internal latch." Vanessa crossed her arms tighter. "You cannot seriously think I touched that thing." The inspector did not respond. He just kept examining the damaged wiring. Professional silence. Dangerous silence. I recognized it from my investigation days. People stop talking when evidence starts speaking louder than they do. The new headlights finally crested the hill behind the patrol SUVs. Bigger vehicle. County seal on the doors. The older deputy exhaled slowly when he saw it. Vanessa did the opposite. The county supervisor stepped out of the SUV carrying a thick waterproof binder under one arm. Tall guy. Gray beard. Reflective county jacket soaked dark from the rain. His boots crunched slowly across the gravel while everybody watched him approach the gate. Vanessa straightened immediately when she recognized him. "Martin," she said quickly, forcing a smile back onto her face. "This entire situation has been blown out of proportion." He ignored her completely. "Smart man." He walked straight to the damaged relay box beside the keypad while the inspectors briefed him in low voices. Rain tapped steadily against metal and plastic around us. The patrol lights painted the puddles red and blue. Martin finally looked at the exposed wiring and shook his head once. "Who authorized this work?" he asked calmly. Vanessa stepped forward before anyone else could answer. "The HOA board approved emergency access improvements pending expansion review." Martin opened the binder slowly. Wet paper smell drifted into the cold air. "No county office approved expansion review," he said. "We rejected the preliminary request last month." That landed like a dropped cinder block. Even the younger deputy stopped writing for a second. Vanessa blinked hard. "That cannot be right." Martin flipped to another page and held it under the flashlight beam. "County rejection stamp. Official date. Holloway Ridge Development Group listed clearly across the top." Vanessa looked at the document and said nothing. "Earlier that week, I sat alone in my barn listening to rain hammer the roof while old security footage played across my laptop screen. Hours of timestamps. Utility workers. Survey crews. HOA golf carts creeping near the fence line after midnight. Most of it looked harmless unless you knew what to watch for. Patterns matter more than moments." One clip showed Vanessa standing beside the gate 3 nights earlier speaking with 2 contractors near the relay panel. Another showed county reflector posts loaded into the back of an HOA maintenance trailer before sunrise. Quiet theft. Professional theft. The kind designed to disappear before daylight. Questions started. I never reported it immediately. I wanted the full pattern first. Martin turned another page inside the binder. "There is more," he said quietly. Nobody liked hearing that tone. Especially not Vanessa. County audit flagged irregular easement filings tied to 3 connected subdivisions. The older deputy exchanged a look with Ray immediately. The younger deputy finally stopped pretending this was routine. His shoulders stiffened completely now. Martin kept reading. Several filings referenced emergency utility access corridors that do not legally belong to the HOA network. Vanessa tried interrupting him. "This is a civil matter." Martin looked up sharply. "Not when county infrastructure is altered without authorization." Silence again. Bigger silence this time. You could hear rainwater dripping from the open relay box onto the gravel below. One steady tick. 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 The utility inspector handed Martin a printed photo from his case file. Close-up image of the bypassed fire relay system. Martin studied it for only a second before exhaling slowly through his nose. "You disabled county emergency override access," he said. Vanessa shook her head immediately. "I never touched that equipment." But her voice sounded thinner now. Less controlled. The younger deputy glanced toward me. "You already knew county auditors were involved." "I suspected," I answered. "That is why I documented everything." Vanessa turned toward me so fast water sprayed from her sleeves. "You set this up," she snapped. "You have been collecting information on us for months." "Yes," I said calmly. "Because your people kept moving property lines." Her face hardened after that. Real anger now. No performance left. No HOA smile. Just panic wearing expensive clothes. Martin closed the binder slowly and looked toward the older deputy. "Deputy," he said, "I think your supervisor needs to see these filings immediately." Then the older deputy's radio buzzed with another incoming call. The older deputy lifted the radio to his shoulder while rain hissed softly across the road. "Copy." That, he said. Send them to my location. His voice sounded completely different now. Earlier he talked like a man calming down another neighborhood argument. Now he sounded careful. Professional. The kind of careful that appears when paperwork starts connecting too many names together. Vanessa noticed it instantly. Who else is coming? She asked. Nobody answered her. Martin reopened the county binder while the utility inspectors photographed the damaged relay system from multiple angles. Camera flashes bounced across the wet gate and steel fencing. Every picture made Vanessa more nervous. You could see it in her hands now. They would not stay still. The younger deputy walked toward the golf carts and quietly spoke with the last HOA board member still standing there. The man nodded twice, climbed into the cart, and drove away without even looking back at Vanessa. Another quiet exit. Wealthy people disappear fast when accountability arrives. The road suddenly felt colder after that. Earlier that summer, I attended one HOA meeting under a fake name just to watch Vanessa operate in public. Small clubhouse. Smelled like carpet cleaner and burnt coffee. She stood at the front beside a projector screen talking about community modernization plans while smiling like a local politician. Most residents never questioned the maps flashing behind her. Green zones. Expanded access routes. Shared infrastructure proposals. Harmless language hiding aggressive land consolidation. I watched elderly homeowners nod along because they trusted official-looking documents. That was the dangerous part. Vanessa never sounded threatening. She sounded organized. Predators wearing professionalism usually get farther than loud ones. A second patrol supervisor finally arrived and stepped out into the rain carrying a dark umbrella nobody bothered using. The older deputy immediately handed him Martin's binder along with my folder. The supervisor flipped through the documents silently beneath the patrol lights. His face changed page by page. First confusion. Then irritation. Then something heavier. He stopped at the utility access map and looked toward the damaged gate system. This route. Services County Emergency Water Support, he asked. Martin nodded once. And somebody bypassed the override relay. The supervisor looked directly at Vanessa after hearing that. She folded her arms again. Defensive now. Not confident. This is being exaggerated, she said quickly. The HOA was improving access for future development. Without county approval? Martin asked. Vanessa said nothing. Rainwater dripped steadily from the edge of the open relay panel. Tick. 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 The sound filled every silence now. One of the inspectors approached carrying a printed maintenance log from the gate system. Supervisor, he said, the access records show repeated failed override attempts during the last 3 weeks. He handed over the pages carefully. Time stamps. Access denials. Forced entry alerts. Somebody had been trying different codes over and over again late at night. The supervisor studied the pages quietly. Who had access to these codes, he asked. Only me, I answered. Vanessa looked away immediately after that. Tiny reaction. But enough. The older deputy noticed too. Then the utility inspector opened another weatherproof case and removed a damaged electronic key card sealed inside a plastic evidence sleeve. County logo still visible across the surface. Found this inside the relay housing, he said. Martin frowned instantly. That belongs to County Emergency Services. Nobody spoke for several seconds after hearing that. The younger deputy slowly exhaled through his nose while staring at the evidence bag. Vanessa looked pale under the flashing lights now. Even her voice sounded smaller when she finally spoke again. I have no idea how that got there. The supervisor closed the binder hard enough to echo across the gate. Ma'am, he said carefully, I think this situation just became much more serious. Then another vehicle turned onto the road with state inspection markings across the doors. The state inspection vehicle stopped beside the county trucks with its headlights washing across the soaked gate. Two officials stepped out carrying hard cases and rolled survey tubes under their arms. No flashing lights. No raised voices. Somehow that felt worse. For Vanessa. State investigators move quietly when paperwork already exists. The supervisor walked toward them immediately and handed over Martin's binder without saying much. One of the officials opened it under the patrol lights while rain pattered softly across the plastic cover. The other official examined the damaged relay panel beside the keypad. "Who reported the tampering?" he asked. The older deputy pointed toward the utility inspectors. Vanessa stepped forward fast. "This has gotten completely out of control," she said. "We were trying to improve community access." The official barely looked at her. "Community access to county emergency infrastructure." That shut her up for a second. Long enough for everybody to hear the wind moving through the cedar trees behind the fence line. Earlier that fall, I drove past the Holloway Ridge sales office on my way back from town. Brand new building. Glass walls. Expensive stone entrance. The development map hanging inside caught my attention immediately. The future expansion sketches showed private villas stretching directly across land parcels the company did not legally own yet. My road sat right in the center of the plan like a vein waiting to be cut open. That was when I understood the full picture. Vanessa was never trying to control a neighborhood. She was trying to control a corridor. Roads matter in Texas. Water access matters more. The state official unrolled a survey map across the hood of the patrol SUV. Fresh markings circled multiple easement zones around my property and the surrounding ranches' red annotations covered entire sections. "These amendment requests were flagged 3 weeks ago," he said calmly. "Several signatures do not match county filing records." The younger deputy stared at the map quietly. Even he understood what forged filings meant. Vanessa folded her arms tightly again. "You are accusing the wrong people," she said. "The HOA handled paperwork through approved channels." "Which channels?" the official asked immediately. She hesitated. Tiny pause. But deadly pause. The supervisor noticed too. Everybody did. The rain finally started easing after nearly 2 hours. Steam drifted off the patrol hoods into the cold night air. One of the utility inspectors handed over another document sleeve. Inside sat copies of maintenance invoices tied to relay work performed 2 nights earlier. Holloway Ridge Development Group appeared at the top again. Same company. Same signatures. Same pattern. Vanessa looked trapped now. Real trapped. Her expensive confidence had completely drained away under the flood of county maps, utility logs, and inspection reports. The older deputy quietly moved the bolt cutters farther away from the keypad and sealed them inside an evidence bag. Nobody announced it dramatically. Nobody needed to. The message was obvious enough. The state official finally closed the survey tube and looked directly at Vanessa. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "until this investigation is complete, your HOA is prohibited from altering any access route, utility corridor, or easement connected to this property." Vanessa opened her mouth to argue again, then stopped when the supervisor handed one document back to her. Official suspension order. County seal across the bottom. Rainwater streaked down the paper while she stared at it in silence. Behind us, the gate keypad beeped softly as the emergency relay system came back online. Green light this time instead of red. The utility inspector nodded once after checking the restored signal. Families farther down the ridge had access again. Fire crews had access again. The road belonged to exactly who it belonged to. I looked out across the wet gravel stretching into the dark ranchland beyond the gate while the patrol lights slowly dimmed around us. Then Vanessa finally realized the cameras were still recording everything.